Welcome. Today's story is about Anna, a young woman in the quiet town of Greenfield. She discovers a mysterious blue door that leads to a secret library full of magical books. Let's find out what happens. It was a quiet Saturday morning in the small town of Greenfield. Anna, a young woman who worked in the town bakery, woke up early. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing in the trees outside her window. She opened the window and took a deep breath of fresh morning air. The smell of flowers from the garden made her smile. Today will be a good day, she thought. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing in the trees outside her window. She opened the window and took a deep breath of fresh morning air. The smell of flowers from the garden made her smile. Today will be a good day, she thought. Anna decided to take a short walk before going to work. She put on her comfortable shoes, picked up her small brown bag, and stepped outside. The street was peaceful. A man was sweeping the front of his shop. Two children were riding bicycles slowly along the road. An old woman was watering flowers in her garden. Anna waved to her, and the old woman waved back. She walked past the library, which was still closed at this early hour. She passed the post office, where the postman was sorting letters. Then she reached the small park with the old fountain in the middle. She sat on a bench for a moment, listening to the water splash and the birds chirp. When she stood up to continue her walk, she decided to take a different route back home. She turned into a narrow alley she had never used before. The alley was quiet, with tall brick walls on both sides. The walls were covered in green vines and small flowers growing between the cracks. Halfway down the alley, Anna stopped suddenly. There, in the middle of one wall, was a tall blue door. She had never seen it before. The paint was bright and fresh, almost shining in the sunlight. There was no sign above it, no window beside it, just the door. Anna felt curious. She looked left and right. No one else was in the alley. She slowly walked up to the door and touched it. The wood felt smooth under her hand. She tried the handle, but the door was locked. She knocked softly, then a little louder. No one answered. She waited, listening. The alley was silent, except for the sound of a cat jumping onto a trash bin nearby. The cat stared at her with big green eyes, as if it knew a secret. Anna wanted to know more about the blue door, but she didn't have much time. She still needed to go home, change her clothes, and get to the bakery. She walked away, but all day at work she thought about the strange door. She wondered who it belonged to and what might be behind it. The next morning, Anna couldn't resist. She took the same walk and went straight to the alley. The blue door looked just the same as before, but this time she saw something different. On the ground, right in front of the door, lay a small, shiny object. She bent down and picked it up. It was an old-fashioned key, made of brass. The key was heavy and cool in her hand. Her heart began to beat faster. Could this be the key to the blue door? She looked around. The alley was empty again. The same cat sat on the trash bin, watching her closely. Anna smiled nervously at the cat. "Should I open it?" she whispered to herself. She held the key in her hand for a moment, feeling both nervous and excited. Slowly, she put the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. She turned it, and the lock clicked open. The door creaked as she pushed it. Inside was a dimly lit room. A small window let in a beam of sunlight, which fell on a wooden table in the middle of the room. On the table was a brown envelope with Anna's name written on it in neat handwriting. She stepped inside carefully, closing the door behind her. The air smelled of old books and paper. Along the walls were shelves filled with books of all shapes and sizes. Some looked new, others were old and worn, their covers faded. There were also boxes stacked neatly in the corners. Anna walked to the table and picked up the envelope. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note that said, "Dear Anna, you have found the secret library of Greenfield. This place is for people who love stories and want to share them. You may borrow any book you like. Welcome to the club." Anna looked around, amazed. She had never seen so many interesting books in one place. There were books in English, Spanish, French, and other languages she didn't recognize. She found books of fairy tales, adventure stories, and even cookbooks. She took a seat at the table and began reading the first book she picked up. Hours passed without her noticing. The room was quiet except for the soft turning of pages. When she finally looked at her watch, it was already afternoon. She carefully returned the book to the shelf, locked the door, and slipped the key into her bag. From that day on, Anna visited the Blue Door every week. Sometimes she read alone. Other times, she met other members of the secret library. They shared tea, exchanged books, and talked about the stories they loved. Anna felt happier than ever before. One rainy afternoon, she discovered something new. Inside an old book of fairy tales, she found a small folded paper. She opened it and read, "When you are ready, you will give the key to someone else." Anna kept visiting the library for many years. She read hundreds of books and even began writing her own. Then, one sunny morning, she met a young boy in the park. He was sitting on a bench, reading a small book with great interest. She sat beside him and asked about the book. He told her he loved reading, but wished he could find more stories. Anna smiled and reached into her bag. She took out the brass key and placed it in his hand. "There's a blue door in an alley not far from here," she said softly. "It's time for you to find it." The boy's eyes grew wide with curiosity. Anna stood up, waved goodbye, and walked away, knowing the mystery of the blue door would continue for many years to come.